But yeah, there was a lot of elbow grease put into SSX on Tour, just in terms of track design and um, mechanically how the game played, and like the track design is really impressive. There's like 15 tracks, 16, and you can tell that a lot of thought has been put into these tracks, so that you can play them over and over and learn them, and just unlimited replay value in it. And it's so good, it's so good. Especially Mind the Gap, where you get to rail down top to bottom the entire track, and it's amazing and skillful and makes you feel great after. Oh, piss off, seriously. I'm not saying that this track doesn't have a lot of elbow grease, it's just that the difficulty in this game slopes a lot harder than SSX on Tour. Like in SSX on Tour, there's a pretty good sense of, okay, this is easy, now it's getting harder, and now you're getting to the Pro Master difficulty, and then the Legend tracks, or not the Legend challenges, and the Legend events. And in this game, it goes from Peak 1, where it's painfully easy, to Peak 2, where it's still kind of easy, then Peak 3, when it's absolutely ridiculous if you don't know what you're doing, and if you don't crash, and if you didn't upgrade your character, and if you don't perform your combos properly. So SSX on Tour also like forces you to be, it's a lot less forgiving than SSX on 3. And that's what I mean about elbow grease, is that EA Big, the developers of SSX on Tour and SSX on 3, took a long time to say, okay, what's difficult in SSX on Tour? Is this the right difficulty? Is it too easy? Is it too hard for this part of the game? You know, it has a good sense of level progression. In this game, like they made this game in 2 years, even though like they made SSX 3 in 2 years. I'm trying to think now. They made SSX 1 in 2000. SSX Tricky was released in 2001. SSX Tricky... No, wait, hang on. SSX 3 was released in 2003. I can't even think about it right now. But what I'm trying to say is that they got more development time for SSX on... Okay. As I was saying, they got more development time for SSX on Tour than they got for SSX Tricky. I mean SSX 3, so they ironed out a lot of glitches and bugs and gameplay elements that may or may have not been perfect in SSX 3. Is it the superior game? No. Because even though I have had a revamped opinion after playing it as a teenager, because when I first played SSX on Tour, I was like 8, 9. No, I had to have been, yeah, I was about 8 years old, 9 years old, and I didn't like it as much because it just had a different theme and feeling to it compared to SSX 3. And I like SSX 3's theme and setting better. Like, it's a little bit futuristic, and there's a lot of color, and the art design is pretty good. And SSX on Tour just feels like, I've talked about this in my SSX on Tour Let's Play. SSX on Tour feels like you're just a guy in high school doodling on his scrapbook. Like, it has that art style where you're in the main menu and everything looks like it's been drawn on a piece of paper, and it's charming, but it's not the step in the right direction. And it's certainly an art style, but they went from something that could have been so cool. Like, I've also talked about this, I'm not sure when, I think it was in my SSX Tricky Let's Play. I talked about how the early designs for SSX 3 were super futuristic. This was supposed to be a super futuristic snowboarding game, and then they toned it down. They toned it down to be just fit modern times a little bit better. But the thing is, if they just hang on, my right analog stick was being a bit weird there. if they just kept going and SSX on Tour was like the futuristic snowboard game, it could have been amazing. And SSX on Tour is amazing already, it's just that the setting is a little bit... Well, we've seen it before. I mean, there were 3 SSX games before SSX on Tour, so we've seen it already. I mean, they did try their best. And I'm not saying the track design is bad, it's great. They tried their best to make some very unique and memorable tracks, but I don't know, they went from something that looked really futuristic and cool, and then they turned it into some teenager's scrapbook drawing. And that's not something I can really appreciate or get behind, even though that's a part of my age group, designated age group, that they probably were aiming for when they made the game. Yeah, now we're on Metro City already. I beat Snow Jam with ease. This one's going to be a little bit harder, because I know for a fact, because I'm not as well versed with the shortcuts in this track as I am with Snow Jam. And this is a harder track overall. Like, they only had so many places to put tracks, separating them between race and slopestyle. I don't know why I crashed there. Piss off, Sia. Okay? Okay, girl. Okay, I'll see you later. Oh, I didn't make it, of course. Yeah, one thing I do like about SSX on Tour that they didn't do in SSX 3 is that in SSX 3 they split freestyle from race just so they could make tracks that are specifically made for racing and tracks that are specifically made for freestyle. But in SSX, like in the games before SSX 3, you would play twice on the same track. You would do a race event and then you do a freestyle event. And like, I feel like when they developed SSX 3, they cut down on the amount of tracks they could have made because they had to separate their efforts between making, okay, this is a race track, this is a slopestyle track, this is a big air track, and how do we connect all these tracks together in one mountain? And how does this one mountain connect to this other mountain? Like, it takes a lot of thought and effort and resource. I didn't make it, frickin' crap. So like, that was one thing they did fix in SSX on Tour that I had, like, I give SSX 3 a 9 out of 10 by far. It is so close to being perfect in every way in my eyes. Not just because of nostalgia goggles, but just because of the way it plays and how it improved from SSX Tricky and how big of a jump it was from SSX Tricky to here. But I mean, one gripe I have is that there are not enough tracks in this game, and they fixed that in SSX on Tour, and they fixed that in SSX 2012. But here, like, not counting the backcountry tracks, quote unquote, there's 5 racetracks in the entire game, and compared to SSX Tricky, there was like 10. Like, that's kind of sad. And they used the game uses the backcountries of the mountains as tracks, but like, they go from specified, okay, we're gonna make these specific tracks that are just race, and then we're gonna have backcountry tracks that are both race and slope style. Like, it kind of switches, and it loses focus in the game, I feel. Of course, even though I just finished making a spiel about how they should have had or I didn't finish the spiel, I was in the middle of it before switching subject. Basically, because they focused on what am I doing? I'm crashing into the wall here. Because they focused on making specifically race tracks and specifically slopestyle tracks, they forgot they have less tracks in the game. And I feel like if they just made a dozen tracks that you could play both slopestyle and race, it could have flowed into a mountain or 3 mountains a lot easier, and they could have put more focus into the tracks that they were doing. It would be a lot better. But no, they decided to do a bunch of focus tracks, and as you can see, they thought of it as a mistake. They already saw by going into when they were making SSX on tour, they already knew, okay, we made a mistake. We shouldn't have focused on these individual tracks. It took way too long to do. And, oh my god. I can't ever get that jump. I always mess up the timing of that jump. Sometimes I get it. I think I got it on my Let's Play 6 years ago, but it just, the angle of that jump eludes me. Anyways, like, EA Big obviously saw the amount of tracks in SSX 3 as a problem, because you can finish this, if you're good enough, you can finish this game. Not 100%, mind you, 100% will take you forever, but, like, completing this game doesn't take that long at all. It'll take you an hour or 2 hours. I've actually been tempted to do speedruns of this game just to see how fast I can beat it, because there are a lot of speedruns out there that take a lot of skill, but there aren't any speedruns of SSX 3, at least I don't think. I need to go do a YouTube search of that as soon as I'm done this recording. But I kind of wanted to do it because I love this game so much, and it would be the only, oh god, I know this, yep. That corner, the developers set a reset zone there because they know you could get messed up in the corner, and you're still having problems with collision detection and balls, and I said they fixed a lot of things. I didn't say they fixed all things, which is another reason why SSX 3 isn't a 10 out of 10 for me. It's very close though, like I said. Oh, I did it. Oh, okay, I made that. Okay. What was I gonna say? Okay, so just gonna move on. Is this a third race? I really have not been paying attention at all. You kind of get in a trance when you're just talking and you're playing the game at the same time. And I'm just thankful that I'm playing on the first peak only